Alright, here we go. We're going to do some D&D prep. So I'm just going to get this going. So let me look at what I got in my notes today. So I'm going to do some isometric D&D prep. This is as a thought. So for folks who are trying to follow along with what's going on, I do isometric D&D using Foundry Virtual Tabletop. And I got a couple of free downloads up here for people trying to follow along. A lot of it uses the grape juice isometric plugin, so that's what you're going to want to follow along with. But let's see what I've got going here today. So I'm going to do about an hour, maybe a little bit more of prep. Got a lot of stuff prepped for tomorrow, which is my game. Looks like I got to set up kind of another sea battle in like the port of the town they're defending. And I got some stats to set up. That's not as interesting. I need stats for... Actually, I think I finished making stats for a brain in a jar. But I can show how I did that. And then I've got stats for a bounty hunter or something. I got to make a story decision. Basically, I got to decide whether or not we're going to have like a ghost ship. But anyways, if you're in my game, do not watch this. Spoilers everywhere. But if you just want to come and hang out and see how I do my prep, there's a good chance. So I'm going to log into my Foundry instance, get in here, and let's see what we got going on. I should have the sound turned off. I don't quite have my OBS set up so that I can stream the audio coming off the computer here, but this is my setup. I got Foundry VTT, I got the isometric plugin, I've got IsoFace turned on, which is sort of like an experimental extension to the Grape Juice Isometrics plugin where I can rotate the characters. Some of them are from Hero Forge, some of them are hand drawn. And what's going on in the game right now, just to orient everybody, is I've got a battle that's occurring. So they've showed up at the town. This is where the cliffhanger left last time, where the town is being attacked by the bad guys. The bad guys are this sort of Kraken society, you know, Cthulhu-ish worshipping fleet. And then it's also the Black Fleet, which are like bad guy pirates. And they're the good guy pirates, so they're here to defend the town. The town basically has an alliance with the pirates that follow the pirate code. So they're defending the town, and they're going to have some battles and, you know, defend the various waves that are coming at the town across sort of like multiple encounters strung together. So by the time they get to the main encounter in the cathedral, they've already used some of their resources for the day. That's the general idea. And up here, there's the main cathedral. So I've already got some of the prep done. And now I'm going to, today, really focus on the what-ifs. So the main story thread of like the obvious choices I've already got plotted out pretty well. Maybe I need to like throw some more stats in there. Sometimes with stats, I can just kind of do it on the fly using D&D Beyond. I don't necessarily have to get it all into Foundry, but I like getting a little bit more ready than I am now. So if they go and defend where their boat is, this is their crew sort of defending their boat, since that's going to get attacked, then we're going to jump to this port battle. And this is all set up already. So the port battle has, you know, their starting point. There's like a wizard tower with some NPCs they recently rescued and befriended. There's the guards that are going to be completely overwhelmed by this wave of pirates coming in, or bad guy ships. So the bad guy ships are going to come and they're going to release a whole bunch of their people. So I've got some sea spawn, some cultists. They've run into those before. And then there's the main villain here who's got a nice little visual effect on her. So her spells are all set up and ready to go. She's just a warlock of the great old one there. So she doesn't need much work. But these ships can get animated in using token attach. But I don't have them set up yet where they will also like use the vehicles thing and carry their crews on. But I think I'm just going to do that manually. I'm not really too worried about that. So the very first thing that happens is the boats are going to arrive. And they're going to arrive on these 3 different boats, kind of spreading themselves out, which makes them kind of difficult for the players to fight since they're all spread out. They run the risk of getting surrounded, and they're going to have some tactical decisions about what they defend. Do they defend the center with their boats? Do they defend the port here that's got the bar with maybe some people that they know in it? Or do they stop themselves from getting outflanked by the main villain who's down in the south, down here? So they'll fight this. If the bad guys get into trouble, they can summon a big monster. I wouldn't mind if some of the bad guys got away if they kind of fight them off, but that's going to happen. And then, at some point, they have a choice to leave that fight, because the main event is when this ghost pirate ship over here comes in, and the ghost pirate ship goes to the graveyard to raise a whole bunch of undead to go climb the wall and attack the main cathedral. So the graveyard I did last time, and I've got some skeletons. I joined a new Kickstarter, so I've got some new skeleton models to use that are pretty freaking cool. So I've got this normal skeleton. So these maps, checking in the chat, these are incarnate with a little bit of extra Photoshop done. The port battle was done in Photoshop using Epic Isometric, so it's like different tile sets. I'm going to draw another map today so I can show some of that, show some of what I'm doing, but I'm probably going to have to make a video to show how I use incarnate. My YouTube channel has videos for just about all of this stuff, or like all the little parts of it. And people are like, wow, this is way too much, but honestly, you just kind of add one skill at a time, and it's like painting minis. You're not going to learn how to do it all at once, and you don't have to be perfect. Like, perfect is the enemy of progress and good, and just having fun playing D&D. But at this point, I've been prepping Isometric for, more than 2 years, and so I'm pretty quick at this point, and I've kind of got some of my style down. But you do your thing. There's a lot of really great stuff in Incarnate. It's a good place to get started, because it's just sort of like you just put down tiles and it does all the shadows for you and stuff. But you'll see I kind of play on one big map, almost like it's on a tabletop. I don't have as much line of sight. I don't go overboard with that. The characters just have fun playing. So I've got a normal skeleton that I set up this is one of the people in the community uploaded all 8 directions to like a Dropbox that was in like one of the communities. But then I've got these fancy animated ones that I'm excited to use for the first time. I got these off of a Kickstarter. So these were really easy to add because I basically just got like a folder full of these. Let me show what that looks like. So I'm going to bring up my Finder. So I've got a Finder for my Isometric Compendium, and I just downloaded the off of Vivid Adventure Maps, which is a Patreon. They had a whole bunch of these guys. So there was this skeletons, and they've got like the static version. These are all WebP, so they're kind of hard to preview. But the animated ones are just WebMs, animated ones. But just like to show an example of loading up, how to load up one of these, there was like a iMonster purple. I haven't done that yet. That's probably just a beholder. So I go to my little compendium where I use Mr. Primate's module to like grab all my D&D Beyond monsters. I just clicked it twice. So I can go grab a beholder, go to the stats for it, drag it out. All right, so it's a large creature, it's a beholder. And then I go into here, I click its token, I go to its images, and I go into my compendium, go down to Vivid Adventure Maps, iBeholmonster Purple, animated, get the front right version. I'm going to copy that whole thing there, and then I set the isometric face to 8. This is the ISO face thing. And since it's got them all named correctly, I can close, and this is set up already. So it's already set up so that it's got the different directions. Now you can see some of the defaults aren't right. So one, the resource bars are annoying. So I'm going to get rid of its legendary actions resource bar because that kind of gets in the way. But then also I'm going to go to its position. That's nowhere near big enough to be a scary beholder. See, the shadow kind of makes it take up the whole space. So I'm going to just double the size of this inside the space and see if it looks any better. That looks pretty good, but it's too high up. Right, so now I'm going to lower it back down using the ISO face set anchors. So lower this to 0.6. That's a little bit better. And if I want it to look like it's flying, I can always like bump it up 10 feet. Right, so like that is a token all ready to go because I used the Mr. Primate Monster Muncher to munch all my D&D Beyond monsters. And it's just some like static artwork. And last time I showed how to like make these in Hero Forge or just like import something, but I don't need this guy here today. And I don't need it in my there, so I'll just delete it there. So So this map's all ready to go, right? The boat's going to come in. It's got unload some bad guys, and then they load in here. I've got a little macro button for like showing the character artwork, show token artwork. So I can click on a bad guy and then say, and he looks like this, and it'll show his like portrait from the token artwork. Because I've got a different version for this guy. I've got his token artwork from the module I'm running, which is Call from the Deep, or yeah, it's Call from the Deep, which I'm running. But you know, they'll come in and they'll animate a whole bunch of skeletons. Skeletons should overwhelm them, which is tricky, right? Having the players get overwhelmed and realize they're not supposed to just like fight to the death is tricky. But the skeletons somehow, I'll work it out, will, you know, stop the players from messing with them, and then like climb the wall World War Z style, where the skeletons like form a ladder or something, or you know, they'll figure out some way over that wall. And then we get to the pretty stuff, which I just finished rendering this weekend. So I've got this Cathedral of Knowledge, which is a door, and there's windows. Maybe they try alternate ways in here, but there's also a bell tower. So the tile that's on top of here is hidden, so the players can't see this, right? The players see, and I think I just have to like log in as a different character. I don't think I even need a different session. So I can go load up my test PC, and here, when the test PC loads, I can just pull to scene, go back to my test PC scene. So this is what the player sees. Just sees a bell tower, but I can go to this tile, which is like the inside of it that I rendered, and unhide it, and then it shows up in the character view, if that makes sense. So they could also sneak in through the bell tower, and there's stairs down from the bell tower. But let me put this back the way it was. Right, so it's not hidden. That's hidden again. They go in the main door, which kind of establishes the shape of the building, and maybe they want different ways in. We get to the cathedral scene, and inside of here, this took weeks of work. This was like learning Blender better. So here I've got a base image. This is the next free isometric map pack that I'm releasing. So here the columns can all be stood behind, right? And then some of the rooms that the bad guys have looted. This is like a university effectively for these sages, these scholars. So they've got classrooms, and like the bad guys have already looted and set several of them on fire. But there's other rooms that they have not gotten to yet. So some of the NPCs they know are hiding. So this is like one of the major NPC. I wouldn't say they're good guys. They're more neutral. So he's got a helmed horror, and this is another animated thing. So the bad guys are going to eventually, if they don't get disrupted, the bad guys are going to break down these doors and find the NPCs and take them prisoner, kill them. I don't know. We'll figure that out. And there's also there's like a brain in the jar, like an NPC that's just a brain in the jar that they rescued last time. So they will probably smash that on the ground, because the bad guys are here to deal with what's in the basement. Now the players didn't do much of an investigation, so they don't know what's in the basement yet. They don't know why the bad guys are attacking this town. Hopefully they start investigating what the motives of the bad guys are. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know that it's that big of a problem. But getting to the basement is the final scene. This is also in the free. I made this pretty much from scratch, so I rendered this in Blender. So this one I'm actually really proud of, because it's got all these walls and invisible things. When they pop around the corner, I will reveal this orb thing, which is a sort of like the spirit of an aboleth that the sages were using for something. But that's actually what the bad guys are here for. So this, the walls pop in and out. And I'm using a technique that I learned from Luinidas in the Epic Isometric Discord to use like these half walls to kind of like make it clear that there's a wall there, but you can only actually see the full wall when you're standing in front of it like this. That's the idea there. So this is sort of like my current take. Now I got to remember, since I just revealed the map to that player. So let me, if I pull the all the other tab to that scene, I've just revealed a whole bunch to that guy, so I'm going to have to go and reset the fog of war before switching off of this. So let's go to my prep. It's time to do some prep, and let's figure out what I got. So the challenge is, if they don't if the players don't do exactly what I told them to do, and like it's like a habit. Like if I only prep, if I only prep the thing, if I only make maps for the things I'm expecting, I will probably narrate it in a way that my players, being nice to me, hoping not to take me off my prep, will probably just do the things I put in front of them first. So I want to describe it knowing that they could jump into any number of things, right? They could go jump in their boat and, you know, go and try and join the sea battle that's happening. Any number of I got to be ready for more than things. It's a question in the chat. How many individual renders are composited here? Wow. Let me pull up my local build on my website. So this is the next isometric pack. I can just pull it up. So this is... I'm not going to release this until... I'm not releasing this until... I've shown it in my game. So like the Cathedral is just like the base map, and I got a couple different variations on it, and then like the 8 columns as transparent PNGs and the 2 front benches. So that one's really simple, but the let me get back up to here. The basement is more complex. So the basement I can pull up in Photoshop real quick. Let me switch to Photoshop. So the basement, if I open recent in Photoshop, it'll probably pull it up. Where am I? Basement composite 3, that's probably it. Yeah. So the basement is actually pretty complex. So it simplifies down in Photoshop to just a couple of rooms, right? So there's like let me hide it from the top. So there's like a mask to get rid of all the stuff in the render that I didn't want. And then there's the front room, which is like this room here. I can get rid of. And then there's the aboleth room. Even that, I think I feel like I've like turned on a couple things that shouldn't be here. This is really tricky to do. So like I have to pull out all the individual pieces, but and then like arrange them into sets that are useful for people. So I had to like really think through the parts to isolate and load it in. Maybe the way to show this is to show it in Foundry, and I will jump back over to Foundry. So here I am. I'll make myself tiny, and we'll show it in Foundry. So I'll show the basement in Foundry. You know what? I don't want to mess this up, so I'm gonna make a copy of the scene and then pull it apart there, and maybe that'll help more. So in Foundry, I will open this up and open up the basement, and then duplicate it, and then activate this copy here, right? And then in here now I can use the tile. Now the Grape Juice plugin's got this really killer feature. See this target thing right there? That when you click on the little target and you mouse over, now it actually highlights only the pixels that are not see-through of the tile, and it makes them a lot easier to click. So it's really easy to click stuff behind it. If you don't have that on, then let me like figure out how to reload that. So if you have the target thing turned off, then it gets really tricky, because it like if I wanted to click the thing that like the back arch, if I wanted to click that arch, it won't actually click it because there's other stuff in the foreground, and that can get really difficult. So you turn on this little target thing, and now I can actually click based on the pixels and like this purple highlighting. So that's really useful. So like here, if I turn on the walls, you can see that this front arch here, here is controlled by like 2 little walls on its base. This wall here is controlled by walls on its base. This arch is controlled by walls on its base. So I'll show that. So that front scene is about as complicated as it gets. But I just basically have the walls set up that way. So let me go and actually, move the walls, and you'll see all this stuff. So I move this out, and that out, and that out, and then this out, and then the columns out, right? And then the bookshelf, that arch, that back wall, and then these 2 arches. I move those all out. That's the base image right there, which is a composite of a couple of different renders because I didn't want the light from this room here to bleed into that room. So I actually rendered those 2 separately and then composited them back together. and then like I had to render the things that are behind the columns. So it actually took a little bit in 3D. Like it would have been a lot faster in 2D to just be able to like draw the arches over, but since I wanted the lighting all to match reasonably well. And it's not perfect, right? Like I flattened out the bookcases to replicate them, and then like the textures got messed up. So you can see this bookcase is like orange and that one's purple. It's because there was like a random color variation on the books, but that kind of got translated to the shelf level. So it's not perfect. These I didn't sculpt any of these things. These are off of like shapeways, right? Open forge tiles. So some of this stuff I sculpted from scratch, like the really simple stuff, but I tend to go grab a couple of like little props to use to, you know, off of like 3D printing to make that look better. So this, fortunately I was working on the copy here. So now I can go and activate the actual basement that I've not messed up and delete the copy. All right, let's do some prep. So I need to make a port battle, right? So if they finish up one fight or, you know, somehow manage to get out and do some ocean combat because they don't care about the stuff that's attacking the town, or they think, you know, we need to kill some of these NPCs or they're going to keep coming back. They've seen some of these NPCs before. They know that the bad guy, like main ship, is this one here, down here. So like, if they go and Leroy Jenkins against the bad guy, I need to have that fight. So I need to have that prepped. So that's the thing I don't have yet. So now I got to put that together. So I'm going to jump back over to Photoshop, and I'm going to close this because I don't need that. Don't need to say the changes. So I've got my base kind of tile here. So I'm going to create, you know, there's the kind of a solid color background. So that's my base grid that's in my first isometric pack. It's just a 64 pixel grid. And let's get some questions in the chat. So I totally will release the separated assets for the pieces, but since it's all rendered for the lighting to match, like, doesn't make sense for me to release like a shelf if it's like lit for a specific dark scene. So for like all like flat lighting for these shelves and stuff, there's plenty of stuff out there. I wasn't really thinking about releasing like modular tile sets. I was just sort of releasing like showpiece scenes right now, but it's something to think about. I might consider that. It's just doing it in like solid lighting that is like the same no matter which angle you see it from or where it is compared to the lights is I haven't quite figured out how to do that in a way that I would use it myself. Like if I'm lighting it in 3D myself, I like making the lighting all moody and stuff and kind of using the ray tracer to make it look all fancy. So that's what I'm doing right now in here. So I need to make an ocean scene, maybe with some ports that is there. And I think I've got in my finder, I think I've got some oceans. So let me go see. I think I've got some like waves ready to go. So let me see if I can find that. It's like in my sea battles folder or something. All right, so I've got this water background, which I can load in, which is sort of like a calm, like pool, but it's not quite right. I kind of want like stormy seas more. So I think I've got stormy seas. I might actually have to open up Blender. So I am looking for ship combat. What do I have? So I've got my ship combat master template. What water did I have on this? I probably can't open while I'm still positioning. So this is my ship combat master template with all of my boats on it. Those come from different places. Just really looking for more water samples. think I'm gonna have to go into like my Blender folder and find some old render of waves before I added docs to it or something to get what I want. So I've got animated waves rendered, but I don't have actual waves rendered. That's not useful. So I've got ocean waves rendered out, and I used this in a previous scene, but I think we can reuse this again. So it's got docks in it. It's a little hard to see. It's really dark. But there's a battle at night, so that's not too bad. So I might reuse this ocean dock version 1.png. I might actually, I think I've got this loaded with the bad guy boat baked into it. So let me go find that in Foundry. So is it the black sails encounter? Oh, this is perfect. So this is the like water texture that I've got with a boat from a different scene. So I think I'll just use this one. So we can use this for configure defend the port. And now I got to, I feel like I was using token attach. So that still works, but like token attach plus isometric was working really well, and then it kind of broke. So you see as I move the tokens, there's a lot of drift on the players. So that's not super fun. So I might just have them like, it's actually kind of annoying. So instead of doing that, I think I can remake the boats with token attach only. So let's get the boats out that I think are going to show up. So this is like a different battle scene. Questions in the chat. Is it possible to export these scenes from Foundry? Is that like for using a Roll20 or like piecing them back together? Likely a couple hours of work for somebody to do. Yeah, if you didn't make the assets. So I got to figure out whether or not it makes sense to like make like a Foundry specific download for the isometric with the complex walls, because like if somebody's going to use them realistically, like why ask everyone in the world to do that work again? Why not just set it up? So that's the reason that I've got like these nice ones that are kind of have all the work done for you, assuming you're not using any other like modules and it's just the grape juice stuff. Assuming that you're using Foundry 7.9 like I am, it should be possible to release these as like a module pack, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I'm just sort of limited prep time, so I'm just sort of prepping my game and releasing the art assets. And if there's a way that I can quickly make the Foundry stuff, I know that there's like Adventure Importer Exporter is a module, but I would like to learn how to do what Isometric Worlds is doing, which is like releasing a single compendium type module that I can update as I go without asking people to like re-download the whole thing every single time. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Honestly, redistributing content is still like a lot of work. It's I haven't quite figured out like an easy way to like make a download that people can just grab that doesn't like, I'm worried about like all the different dependencies and stuff, because like my setup is so different, right? I look at all the modules I've got loaded, right? I got so much stuff in here. I'm even running on like a hacked version of the isometric plugin so that I can have my isoface stuff turned on, which isn't assumed that everybody has. So like, yeah, I'm not at the point yet where I'm ready to distribute these stuff as like a pre-cooked module, but that is something I want to do. Yeah. And I hear you that it's slower to build when like the lighting's pre-cooked compared to like dropping modular stuff. But just showing what I'm doing. It's time for me to get on prep though, because I got a game tomorrow, so I got to get ready for that. Where the heck was I? I was on Port Battle? Not Port Battle. I don't think I had added it to the scenes that we're showing. Versus the Kraken fleet, defend the port. That's what I want. So I had versus the Kraken fleet here, which I think was a different scene render. But that one's not coming up for some reason. So this looks pretty, but I think the challenge with this is that the boat is like cooked in tile configuration. I think the problem with this is that like the boat is cooked into the background, and I need to be able to move the boat. Is the boat cooked in? I think the boat's cooked in. Anyways. So we can go to defend the port, and I gotta get my boats working. So that's what I'm doing today. So, got some of my other boats in my token attach. I've got ships. So I got the Fiskerbach, which is their boat, and I gotta wait for all this to finish. Now, of course, they're the same name, so that's going to break everything. So this is like the old school token attach, with both token attach turned on and both token attach turned on and the token wall stuff. So that was breaking, so I'm going to mess with that. So I'm going to open up this. And then I'm going to select the wall, delete the wall, because the modules, like basically like the way that I was doing the vehicles and the way that I'm doing token attach aren't like mutually compatible. So I'm going to have to grab the party, put them on the boat, the assumption that they go out in their own boat, and then I'm going to click this guy. And then I'm going to have to really quickly be able to like link the actors and link them onto the boat. Close. So now they should all animate just fine with the boat, because that should be perfect with token attach. But when they want to jump off the boat, so like imagine they go and board a bad guy boat. This guy like, oh, they can't move independently now? That's not fun. Yeah, that's not really going to be useful. I haven't really figured out how token attach plus vehicles works. So I'm probably going to have to drop the vehicles. So I'm going to dismount all, which should release this thing and delete it. And now I'm going to have to redo the actual import. So let's try this again. So I'm going to move in the Fiskerbach, and then I'm going to drop everything from the Fiskerbach. I have to remember how to do this so I can do it again and again, over and over. And then I go to the area, and then I don't remember what this guy's called. So the token for this is called the Fiskerbach, which is the name of the boat. So then I gotta go to the line, which has vehicles turned on, and name the controller token as Fiskerbach. And it is going to capture tokens automatically and capture tiles manually. Cool. So that didn't work. So let's move you guys onto the boat. This hasn't been working for a while, so I gotta fix this. Bear with me. So it captured those guys just fine. And I can capture the object. That works just fine. Maybe if I leave the scene and come back to the scene. Now I'm going to have to figure out how to get this token to be the control token. So now it works. So now maybe I had to like rejog its memory. So this is pretty solid. right? They're moving around. They're changing their facing because ISO face, and it's sometimes you can drop one, but as long as they go reasonably slow or drag it, it should be fine. Now, if I remember correctly, like sometimes you can like control the permissions on this or get it to like represents actor ship Fiskerbach, and then if I give the configure permissions, all players should be able to own the ship Fiskerbach since that's their boat. So now I should be able to go into my other tab, and since this represents ship Fiskerbach, here I am in this tab, and I'm a player right now, so I should be able to move the boat myself using this control token. That's the goal, to be able to move the control token as a player, so that it's like, okay, who's piloting the boat, and they can move it, but they can't see the control token for the bad guy boat. So now I got to do the same thing for the bad guy boat. So one, I don't think this is the correct bad guy boat, so I could get a different one. What does Old City look like? So I think Old City is a scene that maybe I had in here. And Old City was like my first version of drawing the port with the bar. This was literally an epic isometric like stock, and I just kind of added some fire and added some lights to it and like put the boat in the port. So Old City is just there. This is just an epic isometric one. So is it going to save for all of them? Notice you did it on a scene token instead of the actor's prototype token. So generally stuff that I'm going to use again, the permissions and stuff for a boat is only going to do on the stuff that I save back to the prototype. So because I like, the problem is that you can't, with the vehicles and mechanisms, I can't save that line. So if I pull out a random boat in the middle of combat, it doesn't come pre-rigged off of the side thing. I haven't figured out how to do that with vehicles yet. So I'm pulling it out token attached, then dropping the token attach, hitting the quick assignment button, and then it should work. That's the dream. So let me move this guy here, which of course dumps all these bad guys who aren't from the correct scene in the water. But now if it's not raining, so let me get rid of the rain. And then two, let me go and grab some boats. I got some boats. So I got two versions of the bad guy boat in two different orientations, which is really useful. So if they fight it, we just reorient people's space a bit and have this alternate version with the correct sails up. I'll just delete this one here. Where's my control token? So here's a blank control token. I'm going to hide it, and I'm going to draw the boat out, draw the boat outline. So just there's the boat outline, and I'm gonna, what is this, a reaver, or is this a Kraken ship? So we'll call this control token Kraken ship. Update it, and then I'm gonna duplicate this one, call it Kraken ship, and I go to its prototype, and I'm gonna go here. I am going to hit assign to move it to the prototype, but I'm going to have to do that a couple of times. So there's the Kraken ship there. So now I'm going to go into this control token. First I'm going to rig it for vehicles and mechanisms first. So I'm going to go into here into vehicles. It captures tokens automatically, drawings manually, and its pivot name of the controller token is Kraken ship, and then hit update. So that is enough to make it a vehicles and mechanisms one. Let's have it capture. No, it didn't capture. Why did it not capture the ship underneath it? Let's try that again. We just gotta finagle it a bit. Zero objects captured. Well, how about the tile that's right underneath you? That's what I want you to capture. Sometimes, man. Maybe I'll leave and come back. A lot of things in Foundry can be fixed by leaving and coming back. Zero option. Oh, man. Did I get this right? Vehicles. Tokens automatically. Drawing. Oh, not drawings. None. Tiles manually. Update drawing. Just position this. And there it's captured that. So now I've got some of these dudes. And now from here I can click, grab the selected thing, grab the selected thing, close it, open the Kraken log ship's prototype token, select this and assign it. So now I should be able to drag out the Kraken ship, and there it is right there. So let me go and grab its icon, URL. So the Kraken launch ship is just about ready to go. Then there is an NPC token, but I need it as a token attach ready to make ship. So where is it? Ship. Token attached. There it is right there. So if I wanted a Kraken ship here populated by a whole bunch of bad guys, so I could go grab it and have it have what would be on here? It would be like a cultist, right? And bandit captain, right? Just have a ship full of cultists. And then hide this token. So it'll kind of work with token attach. Just set up like that. That's not too bad. But I think eventually it'll drift off and these guys will get shook and free. So if I want it to be super solid, I'm going to have to do something. Yeah, so that's a little janky there. Cool. Have fun prepping, man. Yeah. So that's pretty good. Now, what other boats might get involved in this fight? So they could be defending one of these big frigates, or the burning ship could come in. I think that's about as much as going to happen. So I just want to make sure I've got those boats ready to go just in case. So that ship and those guys are pretty easy to pop down because it's all loaded in my thing there. But now let's see what other boats I've got. So I might need this interceptor ship, which is probably broken in terms of grabbing NPCs. I mean, that'll be good enough. So that one's ready to go. And then there was the last one, which I don't have prepped in there, which is the fire ship. So I'm going to have to grab that one. I think the tile for it is like pretty standard for me. So if I go to my compendium and I look at my tiles, I think I got that boat right here. Yeah, right here. I got this boat. And it needs a control token. And what did I call this thing? It was versus the Kraken fleet. I gave this boat a name. It was the Red Dragon. I think it's what came from. This is Isometric Worlds. So let's go rename this guy to the Fire Dragon. And give it a name, fire dragon, update the token, and then I want a copy of the control token, duplicate, which I'm going to call the fire dragon. I'm just going to put that in the token attach and put that in the ships. And then now it's time to draw it out. Bernie token, yeah. Yeah, somebody saw that. People are watching my tiles. Yeah, right there. Sometimes I would, as a joke, when that meme was fresh, I would like put him here and just like on the loading page, I'd sit him up there and see how long it took people to notice. Cool. So now I gotta make the walls for the vehicles for this ship. So that's there. And go in vehicles, tokens is auto, tiles is manual, and I gotta give it the name of the controller token, update the drawing. That actually goes pretty quick. So now I'm going to go into the actual controller token. I'm going to hide it, and I'm going to go and open it up, select the line and attach the line, and then I'm going to select the tile and attach the tile, close, and then this should be enough to have the red dragon moving. And the red dragon I was showing is like being on fire, so I might actually go to the tile and show it's like full of fire magic. It's like the artillery boat of the bad guys that can bombard towns. The players haven't invested any of their like magic item drops to like add any magical attachments to their own boat, but they can totally equip their own boat with anything they can think of. They've like captured all kinds of like magical orbs and dragon hearts and things. They just haven't crafted anything yet. I'm waiting. I think they're saving up for a submarine. That's my guess. But like when are they gonna actually try and craft something in this game? Because I'll let them do whatever. It's homebrew. So we've got this thing, and I want the tile. So I'm grabbing the tile. Now I'm gonna go through my fire macros. Book of Fire. I gotta select a token. I don't want to select a token. Black fire. I thought I can like select a tile and apply some token VFX to the tiles, but maybe that doesn't work anymore. Or maybe the problem is that it's got the leaf thing on it. So here, if I turn on the leaf, now I select the tile. Now okay, so I can apply filters to it using my token macros. So now I gotta go to or FX Master. No, what is it? It's Token Magic is the one. So I gotta go find the various fire magics. Fire. Fire shield doesn't work. Lava zone. I want like a fire glow. Chromatic fire. It's chromatic fire. Nope. Cold fire. Custom fire color. Superheat. Let's see what superheat is. No. Just kind of want it ringed by fire. That's like fire glow or something. That's pretty good. I'm getting some of like the random pixels that aren't 100% transparent. But you know what, I can look, that actually looks pretty baller. I think we're just gonna go with this. I need to clean up the stray pixels that are in this that I didn't delete well enough in Photoshop. I can do that later. It's really not that big of a deal. All right, so now I'm gonna go back in, turn off this thing, but like this boat is on fire, and who's in charge of this boat? It is, I gotta go into my like tokens for bad guys. So this boat's got Drowned Wolfgar on it. He's got lots of these, sea spawn. So he's got a bunch of sea spawn on the boat. So let's just try this out and make sure it works. So the sea spawn move along with the boat. They're at risk of falling off. Not too bad. So yeah, so if I really want to do any complex maneuvering, I'm going to have to do the drop thing and like actually get it to pick up the tokens, but that's still not too bad. So now it is time to grab the fire dragon. I'm going to go into here and set its assign the token, go into the prototype token, and I'm going to go and set this to there so that it looks like it, so I can grab it quickly. So now I delete the boat, delete the bad guys. So now I have all the boats and I've got like a generic water scene with the heroes preloaded, and we should be good to go. Except for Bernie, who got lost at sea. I'm gonna delete Bernie. Alright, cool. So that should work and the players can control it. What else am I doing in prep? So that's the port battle. Other docks battle. I'm avoiding doing this, but maybe it'll be good for the stream just to show how I do it. So, like, what happens if the bad guys are also going to attack here to like soften up the port? So if they attack in a totally different area, what happens? Or like if they rush to help their friend out here, who's being attacked by 2 pirate boats, and then have to defend this port, what happens? So maybe I'll make a scene that's like could serve as either like the ports and like some towns and like port on the other side over here. So to do that, I have to decide whether to do this in Incarnate or to do it in Photoshop. So I think I'm going to do it in Photoshop just to have some fun with that. So I'm going to go over to I'm going to get back to Photoshop, and I'm going to find the port scene in Finder. Let me pull that up. So this will be in the Freeport Springs battle, I think. So this is, now we're going to get into some real like isometric map making, and I'll show you how to do this. This file is huge. So this is the actual like isometric port from the first scene, but I'm going to make another one that's like oriented a different way. So I'm going to save this as port 2. Well, let's orient this a different way. So first let's like hide some of the town elements. So there's like the tavern, the town. The Devil's Fin is like a previous kit bash that I did where I just took the main boat, made it blue, and then like I took a skull from one of the epic isometric dungeons that had like a skull on top of a wall, and I took some chains and I just kind of linked it all up, and then I really quickly with a mouse drew the back fin. I think that looks horrible, but it gets the job done. So the Devil's Fin is there, the Fiskerbach is their boat there. There's some extra shadows and stuff that I just kind of like dressed the town up with. And then there's like the ground layer and then the water layer. So to like pull apart the ground layer, the way the ground layer works is that it is the ground layer is just like the generic epic isometric grass here, and then I took the Hamlet playing like the brick layer and made some paths with it, and just color overlaid them different colors. So I'm going to have to do that exact step again in order to get this to work. So there's like these hamlet planes, and then there's the peaceful hamlet. Yeah, so like each one of these is an individual tile. And then the ground dark here is the part that I'm going to have to change. So here you can see that there's like a mask, and then above this is the rocks. Let me see where the rocks go, because I need to get rid of those rocks. The rocks might actually be built in. Yeah, the shore is like this layer right here. So I'm going to save that shore, grab this tile here, and we're going to do this again. But we're going to do it with like a different scene. And something about me using all the video RAM for OBS is making this slow. So I'm just going to have to wait for this to finish. So I'm going to duplicate this layer and then move it up out of the ground, hide the ground, and then I'm going to go and delete the layer mask. So like there's the map filling it up. And this is just, again, this is my base template, right? So the base grid is there. So that's the main grass from Epic Isometric. And I'm going to move this to the top. I'm going to rebuild the whole thing. So this will be like the base grass. And then I thought I said delete the layer mask. Yeah. And then I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to like plot out with a brush in like some, you know, hypercolor. I'm going to plot out what the town's going to look like, just to like kind of get my shapes right. So I'm going to do the part of the town that's got like the port here, right, with maybe like some boats docked. And then there's a coastline here with water on this side, and that's water over here. And I'm going to have like some buildings that they can have like some street to street fighting with some bad guys in. And that's it. So there's like two things of water. The bad guys can come from both sides. And there's like, maybe there's like a dock here with no boats at it. And there's a dock here with no boats at it. So if they defend the other town side, because maybe they mop up or they decide to fight here. So it'd be a quick and dirty map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this layer cop. One, I'm going to bring forward the water and have it underneath. And then I'm going to turn on a mask. And I'm going to go into the mask and I'm going to paint in black with a really big brush, and anything I paint in black basically will show the water beneath. And I just got to get this really rough because I can clean this all up later. Get some really rough shore. And I can even do this like with kind of daytime lighting, and then use a Foundry filter to turn it into nighttime. And then if I ever want to revisit this scene, I have it in the daytime. So then I can just kind of paint in white on the mask layer to bring this back. And then a trick I found for the rocks on the shore was just to like put some rocks in and like fade them out. So I can go to my Finder, and I go to my Epic Isometric compendium, and then I just go into here and I search for rocks, and I'm going to get all the rock sort of things. I'm just going to drag these into a layer so I get all the rocks I want to use for the shore. So I'm just going to get a couple of rocks here from my Epic Isometric compendium. Do not need to be fancy, and I can just use these to build up the shore. I really just need like the edge of them, and then I'm going to fade out the background. I just want to get the part that kind of meets the shore here. So I'm just going to get a bunch of tiles. Got ice tiles as well. This one looks useful. Right, so now I'm going to turn this back on, and I'm going to go and I'm just going to kind of have like a rocky shore. And I need to start top to bottom because the ones in the front are going to occlude the ones behind. So before I start cloning these, I guess I'm going to let's just do the first set with the way that I drag them out, otherwise life is going to get hard. Nope. Like this one here. Totally, I'm doing this in the opposite order than I need to. And then this one's actually more useful for like over here. So then I can go and this is something that like Incarnate does way better, where it like auto positions the top to bottomness of it and saves me a lot of time. I think in layers pretty well because I've been using Photoshop for a long time, but this can be really tricky for people who are just starting to like think about all the layers and like organize them in folders and stuff. So I'm just gonna get the sort of the edge of this map working really well, the edge of this shoreline, and then I'll show the trick. So let me just get this last one here. So I'm gonna take all of these, I'm going to group them together, and these will be the left shore rocks. And then I'm going to turn on a mask. I'm going to get like a brush out. I'm going to get a fuzzy brush, a big fuzzy brush. And I'm just going to like paint out. Let me like hide the... So I just have to get like the edge of the rocks. I need a bigger brush. So just have to get the tops of these rocks off in order to do this. Right, so that blends nicely. Let me get the shore below and paint in some black. Kind of get rid of the bits that are poking. So then I get this nice grassy, rough edge, and then paint back in here. I don't need a harder brush. Paint back in here. All right, so now I got this nice looking shoreline that looks like it's blended in real nice. And now I'm going to do the same thing for here, but I think I've actually got some like walls and pillars to do the actual dock. Let me find some like columns or pillars or something that'll be good for the actual rock docks. Let's actually use some of these like fortification walls for the actual dock up here. I like these like little stone things. It kind of looks like you can tie off a boat on them or something. That's like the inside wall. I want the bottom wall. It's like this one. I don't want this one. I want the one where the I don't know if they make that one. Whatever, close enough. Let's maybe get this wall here. Some of the epic isometric stuff isn't very consistent on its pixel depth. I can probably like take one and then transform and flip it horizontally. Yeah, so I can kind of build out a seawall here. Oops. That can be the wall there. And then I can paint out this part. Just doing some prep and prepping some epic isometric art to use for docks here. Now, another thing that I had working really nicely in the map scene that this is based off of is I actually had some like scenery. So the town elements, let me hide some of these things. So these ports were from the jungle set. I just want to reuse these. I'm a lazy GM. I do not want to redo work that I've already done. So let me just go grab just one of these. Where is this in the, here we go. It says posts copy. So I'm just going to copy this whole folder into here. And then I can go and move it. Now I need the posts copy. I need one of the walls. Now I'm going to go turn on the town effects again. Let's see what I selected. It's one of these things. That's what I want. So this is here. So I'm gonna want maybe the docks going in that direction, top to left, top to right. So I'm gonna do flip horizontal to reorient this that way. Now I'm gonna take each of these guys and kind of set them up here. You can see in the top left in Photoshop there's this button called Auto Select. And that makes it really convenient to go and do this. If I remember correctly, I need to have like one on the front and leave the one on the back missing so that I can tile them easily. Like that. So now I can sort of like duplicate the posts copy, undo the select, and like move that up. And then move the treetops between them like this, so that the one that's in front can be like that in front. And then I select all three of them together and group and say this is a unit of dock, like this. So now I can move it around like that. So now that these docks can be like here, and clone them out like that. That can also be over here. So the one that's here needs to be below the shore rocks, like that. So this will be for like rowboats and stuff here. So the second one needs to be below the first one so that it goes like that. And then these two can be grouped and have a mask on it, so I can hide the part that's behind there, and then the other one looks fine. So now I've got like docks for like bad guy boats to load up on. Cool. So that's coming together, and I got water, right? And now I gotta load up houses. So there's like a brick cottages epic isometric map. So I'm just going to my Finder and I'm searching for brick cottages, and I'm just going to get some of the pre-made houses because I am lazy. There's there, but I'm going to put these all the way on top, and I'm going to put them in a group. I'm going to double click the group and set some layer style. So I'm going to do a color overlay. I don't want it to be green. I'm going to make it like a darker brown. Just so these look a little different. So I need a couple of these different brick cottages to like fill out this scene. I think the default scale is fine. I just need some really simple houses for this like street to street fighting I want to do. So these brick cottages can go inside the cottage group, and then they can individually get selected in and moved about for some street to street fighting here. So I just hold the Option click or Alt click on a Windows machine to like clone and kind of just create some alternate brick cottages. Like this. And then in the town elements there was the peaceful hamlet stuff. So I needed the like that brick floor. What was that called? It was in the ground layers, wherever I put the ground layers. So let's hide some stuff. I'm gonna hide the cottages, hide the docks, hide the left shore rocks. What was this? That was another more docks. What is this? Docks. Hide the ground, hide the water, and then town elements are not what I wanted. Devil's Fin, Fiskerbach, the shadow, the ground is what I want. It's all the way at the bottom. So all the way in the bottom are, I'm just gonna move the ground up. I'm just gonna reuse this. So underneath the cottages, but underneath the docks, right above here, I'm gonna show this, and then in the ground, I'm gonna take the existing ground layer. One, I'm going to take the color overlay and apply it here. Not sure how to do that. All right, we'll worry about that later. And then I'm going to take the Hamlet path, and I'm going to open up these guys, and I'm going to unlock it, and then lock the actual ground layer, turn on auto select, and then these peaceful hamlet village. See if I can move these around. Yeah, that's awesome. And then let's take the cottages, lock them, and show them. So now I can make like little paths out of these guys in between the cottages. Definitely need the paths to lead up to their front doors. Like this. And we need a path to lead up to the graveyard, which is to the north. Just kind of like do that. Just add some texture for the paths here, where it needs more texture. How these overlap doesn't really matter. We need some to get to that port, which is probably going to stick over the edge of the port, and that'll be annoying. So now I've got the hamlet path from the ground, the docks, the shore, more docks, the water. Right, so this is there, but I need the ground to look a little cooler. So I'm going to open up it's locked, unlock it. I'm going to open up its color overlay, and let's get a little bit of green in this, a little bit of brown. That looks really bad. Cancel. I don't want that one. What does the other one look like? So in ground. This one has a color overlay with a color on it. Look at the hex color for that. And it's 32% opacity, which is probably what's not working. So here, go into the color overlay, get the hex color for it, which is exact. opacity. Okay, that's not working. This one, color overlay. That looks pretty good. And then let's get the, I think the docks need to be moved into this color overlay as well in order for this to work. So let's get the docks, the shore, another dock, docks, not the cottages. So let's move these down in order closer to this. Group them and pull out the effects onto the group. That should work. So now I've got these. So I'm gonna save this. I would probably add a whole bunch of props, like, you know, baskets with hay and, like, you know, chickens and other stuff going on in the town. But I'll have this free. I'll probably work on this more later since it's getting kind of late. And all right, let's get back to Foundry. So checklist in Foundry is actually, let's load this up. So I'll kind of do an in progress save on this and load it up, and if I want to work on it more I can. So I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save into my gaming area and into Foundry Adventures, name of my campaign, chapter 4, port 2, and I'll save it as a JPEG so that it's small. All right, now we're going to jump back over into Foundry. And I'm going to bring up there's like the port battle scene here. And I'm going to just duplicate this for settings. But if I didn't duplicate it for settings, I'll show what I do, which is I've got like a meta folder here, and I've got my grid with the perfect size. So I'm just going to duplicate it from the grid. So here's this duplication of the grid. Oops. And so I've already got all those settings and whatnot dialed in, so the grid's perfect. And then I'm going to do port, you know, defend cottages. All right, now I can go into here and load up from my adventures folder where I saved it out, chapter 4, and there's like port 2, select the file, save. So now port 2 is loaded up. And really quickly I'm going to wall off the parts that I don't want them going to outside the map. I'm going to change the color of the background just to be pure black, so that if I put a characters mini down here in like the PCs, if I put the PCs here, so that looks good. So there's black all around, there's this clear fight that happens here. So this is ready to go. I just have to populate it with some guards and stuff. So I think in terms of NPCs, Len Jess is here. The harbor master is going to be defending this part of town, and she's got some guards on her. I think I can drop the night to a night scene, and the guards already have some lanterns on them. Now this place has been bombarded by bad guys already, so I think I'm going to go and add some of my token attach spells. I've got like the fire columns set up and ready to go to kind of show that this place is bombarded a bit. And since this is really dark, I'm going to go and I'm going to modify the darkness layer. It doesn't have to be all the way on. It doesn't really, where is it? on. Oh, this is defend the port. And then what I was looking for was a different scene, which is defend the cottages, which I need to turn to the active scene here. So let's turn the lights off. Let's turn the darkest level a little bit different so you can actually see some of the background. And then let's load up some bad guys. So I've got the ships ready. I've got this Kraken ship ready to go. So let's say that like 2 Kraken ships have pulled up to dock. I think I gotta like load them in the correct order so that the sails get properly obscured here. I got 2 Kraken ships pulled up, and bad guys can pour out of those. But so I think it's less likely. I think I'll do the bad guys more dynamically. I just gotta remember to like hide the ships here. If they run to this scene, it might actually be fun to have 3 bad guys, but have like these bad guys enter from here, so it's sort of like a pincer, right? So like they're maybe doing an okay job defending the town over here. Maybe it's like street to street fighting, so they're like using their crossbows to like snipe out from corners, but they're gonna get flanked is the story. So the flankers can be anybody, basically anybody who's cool that they haven't seen yet could be the attackers. So we could have the warlock lady be part of the group that's gonna flank them, right? And she comes with a big bad one of these death kisses, which I'm gonna move out here, but I'm gonna have it be invisible to start with because she's going to summon it, and then she's going to come in with some of the cultists, sure, but she's also going to have some bigger bruisers with her. So who should she come in with? She's going to come in with like sea spawn. Those are a little bit tougher. And it's mostly going to be cultists over here, I think. I can kind of indicate there's a bazillion cultists on this boat, but they're pinned down by all the crossbows. So that's it. That'll do for that. And there's no way they're getting through that in 2 hours of gaming. So made a new map, prepped this, prepped a bunch of other stuff. There's the other docks battle. I need stats for a Faris. Let's go check on that quickly. So in the main port battle, a Faris is this wizard that's up here, and I think I've done her stats. 66 hit points, spells. So she's now a evoker. She like got her evoker powers. So let me put this on private GM role. Let me test her out for a little bit. So she's an evoker, so I can go to like D&D Beyond and go to evoker and go to the monster for evoker and set this as my D&D Beyond target. So I can go to the evoker, and what she got? 6 level spell slots. Oh my goodness. So she's mostly going to do fire spells. She's got Wall of Ice, but not. She's supposed to be like a fire mage. So I kind of want her to have Wall of Fire, not Wall of Ice. So is there a way to do that where I can like get out my spell book and like just modify her on the fly here? So she's a Faris. Her token is linked to the actual character sheet. So can I actually like add spells? So I need to go to my compendiums and see if there's like D&D Beyond spells. Is there like Wall of... Nice. Wall of Fire. So she's got Wall of Fire now. So can I cast Wall of Fire, not consume the spell slot? So she's gonna cast Wall of Fire doing 21 damage, but then I can use her Wall of Fire ability. I can also use a Fireball and like drop a Fireball somewhere. That should work pretty well. Okay, so if she's got Wall of Fire and Fireball, then she should be all set. Delete the template. Awesome. Let me delete the spell. Oh my goodness. She's artillery that they will need to save their spell energy, because they're 6th level and this is like 4 fights back to back, and they had 1 fight in the jungle, and so they've had a short rest, but this is going to be like an endurance fight for them. So all right, we're getting pretty close to done here. So Faris has some spells, stats for Iona and friendly pirates. All right, so these are the pirates. And I don't know that I can kind of just, they're NPCs, and it's not a simulation, so I don't, like, these are probably set up as like commoners or pirates or something. They're not that tough. These are some really nice Two Brave Puffins tokens. So these two are kind of have some plot armor because we haven't discovered what their stories are yet. And Iona is a warlock of the Great Fae, Archfey or something like that. So she actually has a bunch of spells. So before I run the game tomorrow, I may just like pick out a couple of spells because she's just been spamming Eldritch Blast, but she actually has more spells than that. And then of course she can conjure Fae. Now I'm gonna have to remember how to like have her short rest because she's a. How do you have a NPC short rest? Uh-oh. She needs her spell books, her spell slots back. I'm not really sure how to get spell slots back on an NPC. I'll worry about that later. But yeah, she can summon a Fae, and I do have her dog ready, which is she's got a Fae loyal dog that is a custom commission from Two Brave Puffins, but probably not going to use that this game. So now we get rid of her concentration, and let me go to the chat and like delete the chat so we don't give away any of the stuff that's coming out. And I think this is getting pretty close to done. So I, over 2 weekends, have now prepped a lot, right? I've prepped the overland map for when like they position their tokens. I've prepped this 1 port battle, the graveyard, the cathedral, exterior cathedral, interior, the basement, and then don't need the Kraken fleet, but I probably do need to like organize the scenes a bit better. So defend the cottages might happen. And that's in meta, but it needs to be in chapter 4. So defend the cottages just came out, and that's like similar to port battle. And then the defend the port needs a better name. I'm going to toggle in the navigation. This is like the sea battle that can happen. So I'm going to give it a better name, which is sea battle. Real simple. Just for the water battle. So those are all ready. So I don't know exactly what the players are getting. This is like a feast for the players. They can go in any direction and I'm ready to go. But that's about as far as I'm going to take it. So thanks for hanging out. I am definitely going to release the Cathedral map as my next isometric pack. This is not live on the web. This is like my dev site. This is my demo, my getting things ready site. So I'm definitely going to release this once my players have seen the Cathedral and seen what's in the basement. I'll hit the go button on this and release this and post it up a couple of places. But thanks for the comments in the chat. Thanks for hanging out, and I hear you on maybe needing to release some of these isometric packs as like pre-cooked with all the walls pre-rigged and stuff modules, so that it's easy for people to just drag them in and try them out, or add, or not have to do, even if you like know how the isometric stuff works, it can take 20-30 minutes to like rig all the extra walls that I've got for the maps that are not like just like one map and you're done. Though for this Cathedral map, you can definitely use the one that just has the columns in there and just like not worry about the columns being there, and just like let your players go in front of them and behind them and just like pretend they're in front of them and behind them. You do not have to rig the walls if you don't want to, but we'll get this out once it's not a spoiler for my players. All right, so I'm going to stop streaming, and thanks everybody for hanging out.